Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. This is iMac Sports with another football video, and today I'm going over my NFL power rankings for the 2022 NFL season. This is my preseason power rankings before any Week 1 games have been played. I'm very excited to get back into the series, so let's get right into it. First off, we have the dumpster fire. In the dumpster fire, we have the Seattle Seahawks at 32, the Texans at 31, the Bears at 30, and the Falcons at 29. I think that Justin Fields and Davis Mills do make those teams slightly better than the other two in this category, but I kept the Falcons higher because Cordell Patterson had a phenomenal year last year, and I think he's still going to pop off again this year. None of these teams have very strong offenses, and none of them have established defenses. The Bears' defense has gotten worse every year over the last 4 seasons. The Seahawks and Falcons' defense have been two of the worst defenses in the league for the last 3 or 4 years at least, and the Texans have just been bad for the last couple of years, generally speaking. I don't see any of these teams getting more than 4 or 5 wins, and I think even that's a stretch for Seattle or Atlanta. Moving on, we have a couple of teams who I think have some fight. We have the New York Giants, the New York Jets, and the Washington football team. I think that there's potential for Zach Wilson in this league. I think that he has a very young quarterback, and I think that the Jets are just the place where quarterbacks go to die. I think that Zach Wilson might be able to break that streak. I think that he does have a lot of positive attributes to the way that he plays, especially towards the end of last season. He almost beat Tom Brady in the game at home, and there's a couple of really strong games that he did play. The Giants, I don't have as much faith in because of Daniel Jones. He hasn't shown me a whole lot yet in his career, but I still think that with Saquon Barkley, with the weapons that they have, and the defensive improvements towards the end of the season last year, they still could do something. And 26, we have Washington. They underperformed where people thought they would be last season, and I think that this year they're going to underperform once again. I think that Carson Wentz is over the hill. I don't think that he's going to improve at any point this season, and he went from the Colts to a worse team, significantly worse. The defense wasn't as strong last year as people expected, and the offense really just doesn't have a whole lot going for it other than Terry McLaurin. Next, we have a couple players away. The Lions, the Jaguars, and the Panthers, I think, are all a couple players away from hitting that next level. The Panthers picked up Baker Mayfield in the offseason. Christian McCaffrey is hopefully healthy now, and they have DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson on offense. The defense started off very strong last year, but it did regress toward the end of the season. I think that we're going to see another Panthers team that starts off very strong and then slowly regresses throughout the year. I think they might probably start 3-2 and then kind of trail off. But that's kind of what the Panthers do, is they start off really strong and then they always trail off. I think that if they can add a few more pieces, especially on defense, they could improve, but they did lose Stephon Gilmore over the offseason, and I don't see a whole lot of improvement on their defensive or offensive side of the football from last season, other than if Baker Mayfield has a good year. We have the Jaguars at 24. I think that the team is around 30, but I still have faith that Trevor Lawrence can turn it around. And I have the Lions at 25. They were the worst team in the league for a while last year, but I think that with the connection between Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown that they found toward the end of the season, I think that they do have potential this year to be okay. Now, this could be very controversial, but I do have the Cleveland Browns at 22, and that is solely because of Deshaun Watson's 11-game suspension. I've decided to use Cleveland as the marker between the playoff contenders and the teams I think have no chance to make the playoffs, because I think that the Cleveland Browns, had they not lost Deshaun Watson for 11 full games, would be in the top 15, potentially top 10. That being said, they don't have Deshaun Watson for 10 games. I don't see Jacoby Brissett winning a whole lot. So I've decided to use Cleveland as a marker between the significant contenders and the teams that just aren't there yet. Serious potential, we have the Vikings at 21, Eagles at 20, and Steelers at 19. I think that the Vikings obviously have serious potential every year. Kirk Cousins is just way too mid in order for them to do anything. They have a very strong offense, and their defense really needs to step it up this year. They haven't made a whole lot of defensive changes, but I do think that Kirk Cousins has potential to do well. The Eagles, I think that Jalen Hurts is a really strong quarterback, and I think that the Eagles might be too low on this list. I do kind of want to bump them up a little bit, but I'm not really sure where. They didn't really impress me last year, considering they didn't beat a single team with a winning record, but I do think that they will switch that around a little bit this season. I think that their defense will find some grooves, and I think that they could be able to make the playoffs in the NFC because the NFC is a little weak. We have the Steelers at 19. I don't think the Steelers have a significant chance to make the playoffs, but I do think that they have an okay chance to have a good season. Mitch Trubisky is a strong quarterback, and their rookie also looked good too, but I think Mitch Trubisky will continue to be the starter. Najee Harris had an explosive rookie season, and the Steelers' defense and Mike Tomlin's defense will always be strong. Next, we have mid teams. We have the Patriots at 18, the Cardinals at 17, Dolphins at 17, Cardinals at 16, and the 49ers at 15. I think the 49ers feel a little low at 15, considering they were in the NFC Championship game last year. I just don't really know how the passing of the baton from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance is going to go. They weren't that strong in the regular season last year. I don't expect them to be the strongest team in the regular season this year, but I do think that they'll be able to turn on the Jets in the playoffs like they have been able to do with Kyle Shanahan's leadership over the last few seasons. And I think that the fact that Elijah Mitchell is going to have more starts and more games played generally is going to be a positive thing for this team. The Cardinals were a big disappointment for me last year. I was all in. I thought they were going to win the Super Bowl. Preseason, they went 7-0 and I was over the moon, and then they really trailed off toward the end of the year. They finished, I believe, 11-6, and it was just really disappointing. Their defense has gotten worse, and I just don't see them doing a whole lot. Patriots and Dolphins, I really wanted to put both of these teams higher, but I just can't do it yet because I haven't seen enough from Tua or Mac. Tua, I haven't seen play with good enough wide receivers to really know what he's going to be like, but he's just way too conservative. I think that having Tyreek Hill is going to bring him out of his comfort zone a little bit, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, and I really need to see something more from this team before. The Patriots looked very bad in preseason. I really don't like looking at preseason to see how they're going to do during the regular season, but the Patriots looked awful during the preseason, and I think that that's a slight indication, but not really fully. That's why I gave the Dolphins the advantage in this one. Playoff contenders, we have the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Saints, the Colts, and the Ravens. I have the Ravens in the top 10. The other four are close behind. All the Dallas Cowboys fans are going to yell at me for having the Cowboys at 13. I just think that the defense is too inconsistent at this point. I think that there's a lot of strength to the defense, but I think that they're going to try and fix their offensive game plan from last season. They're going to try and make Trevon Diggs a little more conservative, and I think that they're going to screw around with the defense a little too much. I'm also concerned that Dak Prescott doesn't hit that next level. Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray are both in that stage where they're very talented quarterbacks, but they haven't hit that next level where they know how to win games when they need to. And I think that although there were glimpses of that, like the Patriots game, I think that the Cowboys still have a lot of growing to do. Raiders, same thing. Derek Carr, I don't believe in him yet. I think that he's a strong, talented quarterback. I don't believe in his abilities to win games when he needs to, even with Devontae Adams. I need to see him play with Devontae Adams first before I can put the Raiders in the top 10. I wanted to put the Saints in the top 10. I think that their defense is the strongest part of their team, which is, in my opinion, the most important part. I think the quarterback is necessary, but I think that you need a strong defense in order to be successful. And I think the Saints have that. With Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara being healthy, they'll be able to help Jameis Winston into winning those games. The Colts at 11 and the Vikings at 10. A lot of these five rankings were based off of defense first, then quarterback. So I kind of did the top three defenses and then the shaky defenses. And then for quarterbacks, Lamar's the best, then Matt Ryan, then Jameis Winston. I think that the Saints, Colts, and Ravens all have similar teams where they're very run-first teams with conservative passing games and strong defenses. And because of that, I basically ranked them by how good their quarterback was. And then I put the Raiders and Cowboys a little lower because I do prefer defense over offense, especially in this league. In the strong contenders, we have the Titans at 9, the Chargers at 8, the Packers at 7, the Chiefs at 6, and the Broncos at 5. Once again, I kind of made the tiers, and then my rankings were kind of based off of defense first, then quarterback. The Broncos, I think, have arguably the strongest defense in this grouping, considering they were number 3 in points last season. I think that the Chargers also have a very strong argument to be one of the best defenses here, considering they did include J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack to their defensive squad, along with Joey Bosa, and their already okay defense. But I do think that the Broncos were unequivocally the best defense here. All the other 4, their defenses are up and down, and because of that, I went with quarterback next. So I went defense first, again, then quarterback. I ranked Kansas City second. Patrick Mahomes has had the best success in the playoffs out of the remaining quarterbacks, and Aaron Rodgers obviously has won 2 MVPs. So I went with Kansas City and then the Packers. Those 2 teams don't have as good weapons as the Chargers do, but the Titans there's something about the Titans that I think is a little bit lower than the rest of these teams in this tier. The reason why they're here is because Derrick Henry. I'm a big Derrick Henry fan. I am totally biased towards Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans. I think a lot of people won't have the Titans in the top 10, but I think that Derrick Henry is just a force to be reckoned with, and I think that they deserve a spot in this tier. Last but certainly not least, we have the NFL's elite. We have the Rams, the Bucks, the Bills, and the Bengals. The Rams obviously won the Super Bowl. Every time I make a power rankings video for the first week of the season, I have the Super Bowl winners as number 1, especially if they kept most of their teams. And the Rams not only kept most of their players, but they improved their players. They picked up defensive players like Bobby Wagner. They picked up Allen Robinson. They made improvements on an already Super Bowl winning team. So therefore, they are number 1. Tampa's number 2. A lot of that is because Tom Brady. They picked up Julio Jones to replace Antonio Brown. And I was really fighting to put the Bills at number 2. I really think that the Bills do have the second best team in the league. But if it's between Tom Brady and Josh Allen, you have to go with Tom Brady. The Bills have arguably the best defense in the league, and that's why the Bengals are 4th, is because the Bengals' defense just isn't there with the rest of them. I think the Bengals arguably have the best offense in the league this season with all of their offensive weapons at wide receiver, at running back, their new revamped offensive line, Joe Burrow, that connection between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, the introduction of Hayden Hurst. The reason why the Bengals are in this is because I think in the elite is because I think that they do have the best offense in the league, but their defense just isn't on the same level as the other 3 teams here. Everyone's going to get mad at me for having the Bills below Tampa, but I think that Tom Brady, the fact that he did win a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, the fact that he's consistently made it to the championship game pretty much every year, except for last year when he lost to the Super Bowl champions, it was a tough decision, but I did keep the Buccaneers at number 2. So, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I will see you guys all in the next one. Peace.